Welcome to Highways and Hometowns, the podcast that takes you on a high-speed journey through resilient infrastructure, economic growth, and celebrates the beating heart of Texas, as well as hometowns throughout America. Join us as we dive into the triumphs and challenges of communities, adapting and innovating amidst the twists and turns that go into the extraordinary achievements that shape our world. Get ready to build knowledge, lay some concrete foundations of success, and ride the waves of progress on one of the most engaging engineering podcasts in the Lone Star State. This is Highways and Hometowns.
All right, we're back. Again, not that we've gone anywhere. We've been live, but we're doing these recorded segments too. Welcome to the Texas Concrete Pipe Association Highways and Hometowns podcast. We are live from the American Concrete Pipe Association's 2024 Pipe School, going on right now in Frisco, Texas. I'm Steve Fortune, Director of Technical Resources for Rinker Materials, and with me today, I already introduced him 100 times, but let's go for 101, the Concrete Cowboy, the Director of the Texas Concrete Pipe Association, Patrick Charlton.
Man, so happy to be here. Like you said, live from Pipe School. What a great attendance. We've had a heck of a day today. This has been the most action-packed day I've seen in the industry in a long time.
It's been busy. We've had so far great speakers from the city of Ogden, Arizona DOT. We've had staff members from the ACPA. We had a great transportation panel discussion earlier with TxDOT engineers, City of Fort Worth engineers, and the back and forth discussions was great. And then Lance Simmons with TxDOT just gave a really good presentation in there. So speaking of, so we're in Texas, so this is one of the good ones we've been waiting for. We have two of Texas DOT's engineers. I'll let Patrick do the formal introduction.
Sure. We've got Lance Simmons. Come on up, Lance. He is our TxDOT Chief Engineer. And then we've got Graham Bettis. Graham is our Bridge Division Director from TxDOT as well. They just walked off the stage, y'all, from giving two really good presentations. I'll pump them up a little bit. We got to hear really different perspectives. We had a panel up there that had everybody from FHWA down to the local city levels and everywhere in between. And it was one of the best dialogues about the comprehensive infrastructure system that we get to deal with on a daily basis. And then we followed that up with Lance, who gave a resounding endorsement of Texas and told all the other states how much money we have and bragged about it for 45 minutes. It was fantastic. No, I'm kidding. Lance is over there like, golly, what an introduction. No, guys, if you don't mind, give us 10 seconds of an introduction about yourself so the viewers at home kind of know where you come from, where you've been,
and speak right up close to the mic so he can pick you up real good. So take it away, Graham.
All right, appreciate it, guys. Graham Bettis. I'm with the Texas DOT. I'm with the Bridge Division. I've been there, about a dozen years. Before that, I worked over in our lab, so very closely with the pipe manufacturers from that standpoint. So I spent a lot of time in the labs, not just around Austin, but around the whole state, and then moved over to the Bridge Division and became more involved in the design and the standard side of things, but been working very closely with your industry for close to 20 years now.
Love it. Lance?
So Patrick, Steve, thanks for having me and Graham. We love interacting with our industry partners. We cannot do what we do without them, and it is just good to come visit and collaborate and share our story. But I am Lance Simmons, Chief Engineer with TxDOT, and love that job. That's the best job in the state, I think. So started out my career in the Atlanta District, worked 21 years there, served as the Bryan District Engineer for about 6, and been in Austin the last 2.5. Love everything about it. Hometown is Linden, Texas.
There you go.
Linden Kildare High School graduate. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Gentlemen, he says go Tigers for a completely different reason.
I'm an LSU boy, so, go, Tigers a Tiger.
That's right. Gentlemen, talk to us a little bit about your longevity with TxDOT. We love TxDOT in the fact that a young person who can start their career at TxDOT has the opportunity to end their career at TxDOT. Talk to maybe a little bit about your journey through TxDOT and what it's meant to you and your families.
So, Graham, if you don't mind, I'll jump in there. So
let's go first, sure.
So, yes, worked my first summer for TxDOT in the summer of 1990. So my dad worked for TxDOT. My dad was a retiree from TxDOT. My dad retired as the sign man in the Linden maintenance office there in the Atlanta District. And to this day, he is still my biggest critic on leaning signs. So it's tough to even take him for a ride without him pointing out some issues I need to work on. So I do still love that. But TxDOT has always been part of my family. I grew up with those guys that my dad worked with there at Linden Maintenance.
Right.
Hunted and fished with all of them, and it has just been one of those things. I fell in love with it while working summers, and went to work there. And so most folks may not know my wife is a career TxDOT employee too.
Really?
Yeah, we both started full time in '94. Both of us worked in the Atlanta district for the longest time. She did work in the Atlanta district up until I became chief, and she works for one of the divisions now. But it really is it's a family affair.
It's a family affair,
and,
yeah.
And yes, we both are. So I just got my 30-year certificate just a few months back.
Congratulations.
Yes, I realize y'all are looking at me thinking I started when I was 7. So, that really was not the case. But no, really good. Been a great place to work, and love the challenge of it. Love just how diverse Texas is, and the problems and plenty of things that still need solved, and it's just a fun day every day.
Right.
Graham?
Yeah, so I actually went the opposite route of a lot of people. I started off as a consultant. I did about 7 years in the consultant world, bounced around a couple of different jobs, and my wife was working at TxDOT, so family affair for us as well. And I was, tell the truth, not very happy in the consultant world, and she had been telling me for a long time I should come over to TxDOT. And I finally listened to her. Lance, during his presentation, showed a photo of the Hurricane Rita evacuation. I was right in the middle of that. I was actually working as a consultant over in Louisiana.
Oh, wow.
After Katrina and Rita for a while,
Right.
and felt a little enthused about maybe coming to the DOT as opposed to continuing that. And I think one of the things that I like about it, and a lot of our younger folks like about it, is the opportunity to sort of steer the program.
Right.
So I think we work very, very closely with industry, with fabrication, with our contractors, with our consultant partners, things like that. But it's really pretty cool to be able to be in charge of the standards and to really be kind of steering the overall ship. And I think that appeals, certainly it appealed to me over the years, and I think it appeals to a lot of our younger folks.
From our perspective, we get the opportunity to be in the room with a lot of engineers in training from the districts when we host district trainings. And it's such a neat perspective to see a kid that kind of just got out of college, a young lady or young man that just got out of college, and know that they may one day be a division director or the chief engineer or Mark Williams for all we know, and it's such a neat thing to get the opportunity for them to realize that there is a career here for them.
Right. A couple of years ago, I was in the Dallas district for a meet. They've got a very, very strong program with their engineering assistants, and they invited me up to come speak with their engineering assistants. And the Dallas district asked their EAs a question, and it seemed really simple, but they said, what are you working on, was question 1, and question 2 was, why is it important? And then they put 5 of them on the spot, and to hear these kids talking about not just what they were doing, but why it was important was really, really pretty fascinating to see. And there was one in particular. I remember he was talking about he was designing an on-ramp,
Right.
and where to merge the lanes. And I think to a lot of people, just not that important thing, but he really, I think, recognized the importance of what he was doing and how it really impacted public safety. So a really, really pretty cool thing to see.
Yeah, Graham, that is really good points and all that. And as much as we like to talk about how bright the future of Texas is based on funding and all that, so the future is really bright just based on the young folks that we have in the industry, not just with TxDOT, but even here.
Right.
And it is one of those things. I love interacting with those folks, love the enthusiasm by those young folks that are in the industry just getting started. And yes, Patrick, one of my favorite questions to answer when I go visit with those folks is they want to know, how do you become a division director? The other day, somebody just flat out asked them, so how do you become chief engineer? And I launched into the answer of, hard work and being good at what you do.
There you go.
Good communication skills. And I realized I really didn't quite understand the question, because when I circled back to her, she said, oh, no. How did you become chief engineer?
Specific to
and
you.
That's a total different answer. That. So, but good interaction with that group. And I think the future is bright in lots of areas.
I'm going to switch gears on you from a topic perspective. Anybody who has ever listened to you guys give a presentation, TxDOT, the culture is safety. And so you always start with something about end the streak or the last deathless day. And I'll steal a play out of Michael Lee's playbook. Michael, if you're listening one day, I'm stealing it from you. But I think it was November 7th, 2000. Is that correct?
Correct.
And the way he related it to me is he knows that I'm an old political junkie, and he said that was the day that Bush beat Gore. And when you think about that, you're like, my word, that was a really long time ago, you know?
You're really dating yourself now.
But in both your roles, you deal with bridges and you deal with the overall system. How does safety, the culture of safety, impact your daily jobs? Graham, go ahead.
So we think about it in terms of our own employees' safety. We do a lot of things that are frankly dangerous out in the field. It comes with the territory, and so we focus on the specifics of what we're doing out there. And so we try to avoid talking in generalities. We really want to hammer home what our people are being faced with and how we create a safe environment for them. We also talk about our contractors. They are in a very dangerous situation. So a lot of what we talked about here was precast, and I'm a firm believer in prefabricated elements and getting those delivered as being very safety oriented.
Right.
If you're not working 80 feet in the air, you're not working 20 feet below grade, you're creating a much safer environment for the contracting community. And then we also talk all the time about public safety and our role in ensuring safety for the traveling public. I'm giving a presentation statewide in 2 days on what our role is in keeping the public safe. So I think talking along all those lines, not just talking about our own employee safety, certainly that's one leg of that stool, but there's three legs that we talk about. There's our own employees, there's the contracting community, and then there's the public. So I think focus on each of those and our role in them is important that we talk about on a very regular basis.
So Graham nailed it. But it really is that focus on every aspect has to be looked at as far as how can we make things safer, right? So status quo is not getting the job done, and it's not one of those things that, okay, so we decrease the number of fatalities 2.3% last year. We can spike the football and move on to something else. It requires constant attention, and our goal is to get rid of them all, reduce them all in all of those aspects, and whether it is speed limits or traffic signal or new innovative intersection design, we got to be open to any and all of that. And one of the things that our divisions are great about saying now is it's every aspect of every problem, of every project. Matter of fact, lots of folks now just say every project is a safety project. It doesn't matter if you are just doing a seal coat. While you are there, let's see what we can fix and let's see what we can do to make it better, because we don't fix it now, we may be 7-8 years before we get back, and there is no time to fix it other than when we are right there. Let's get it done. Let's look at everything right away to right away and try to just see what can be improved, make that roadway safer.
Great point.
Yep.
Earlier in the transportation forum that Graham, you were on, and we were having some discussion, I kind of briefly brought it up. I saw on the news the other day, Texas or TxDOT received $100 billion with a B dollars of funding for infrastructure projects over the next 10 years. Is that correct? Am I reiterating that right, or is it less than that? Less than time span?
I'll take that one, Grant.
Okay.
Yes. So it is not receiving a big check for $100 billion.
Of course.
What basically our revenue forecast show is our 10-year plan.
Right.
We will have $100 billion, 100.2 available funding to spend over the next 10 years based on current projections.
Right.
And so we're planning for that.
That's good.
So you think, okay, a project in year 10, that's a long way out. So y'all been in this industry to know 10 years gets there in a hurry. And
blink your eyes before you know it.
And project development takes time, right? Especially on big things where you have to do alignment studies and you have to do public involvement.
Right.
And there's environmental and right-of-way purchasing and utilities. It really is a 6-year window, even at best. And so having a 10-year plan and knowing that funding is available, really good, and it just helps that transparency, and it even helps our partners understand what's taking place. And I don't mind sharing the next UTP that we're under development now, we think it's going to be closer to about $102 billion.
Wow.
Which is good, and we're super excited about it, and just it's going to let us solve lots of problems and quite a healthy industry. It's one of the things we love about Texas.
cover a big region of the U.S., but in Texas is the most times I hear the billion. It's kind of humbling, but you can see it everywhere you drive. You can see the growth in infrastructure. Every time you can come in once a month, every month you'll see, the highways have expanded and projects are going. From a standpoint of project timelines and budget, there's always, they get tighter and tighter and tighter. What's the importance you see from a standpoint of accelerated construction, and how precast products like precast boxes help contribute to that accelerated construction to help speed up those timelines, reduce the number of road closures, traffic impacts, get the Texas folks back on the roads, back on the highways, keep them off of their local news station. Like, why doesn't TxDOT do this? So how can you say precast kind of helps attribute to that accelerated construction?
Yeah, so I think nationally, when we talk about accelerated bridge construction, there's a lot of these visions of these grand, huge, like big, sexy weekend replacement projects where we're like hauling a bridge in on something, and certainly that plays a part in it. But I think it plays a very small part in the grand scheme. We consider every single one of our projects accelerated at this point. Accelerated doesn't have to mean a 3-day closure. It can mean a 10-day or a 15-day or a 2-month.
Right.
And really, I think that's where we're trying to make the most progress, is not in these weekend type closures. It's in how do we turn an 18-month project into a 6-week project. And the way we're doing that is with these precast and prefabricated elements, and we do it in a number of different ways. We work very closely with the contractors on developing these methods, and the idea that we call them the Lego pieces. We can build all the Lego pieces off-site. We can do all this preparation work with the idea that we're gonna get something closed,
right,
and get it reopened as quickly as possible. It does kind of require a change in mindset. There's a desire a lot of times to just maintain traffic or maintain lanes at all cost, and I think if you can just let us close it for just a little while, and we can get it replaced very quickly. And the public has been very receptive to that idea. Actually, I think as long as we're doing the right amount of public outreach and explaining to them, we can either pull that Band-Aid off and give us a month, or we can do the orange barrels that everybody likes to make fun of us for a year and a half.
Right.
Most of the time, they're gonna go with that month-long option, and so I think it's a change in mindset, but it's an area where we're making a lot of progress.
Right.
And Steve, I'll tell you too, there's just lots of benefits to accelerated projects, right? So one, I think they're safer, right? So odds are the new roadway is going to be safer than the old. So the sooner you let folks have it, that better. Work zones themselves are in hazards. So one, you have the workers' exposure less, and even have the folks traveling through less. And the thing too that Graham mentioned, most of the traveling public really likes to see us get in and out. And I would think even from an industry standpoint, we got lots to do, right? As soon as we can finish project A, it lets contractor move on to project B, and let's go solve something else.
I think it's worth pointing out too that I think that there's this idea out there that accelerated is more expensive. We're seeing that it's either comparable or a lot of times less expensive because of the enormous cost associated with phase construction and lane closures and all these other things. It's become so expensive that accelerated isn't just a whole lot faster. It's a lot of times less expensive, not more.
Right.
I want to quote you, but I want to make sure I quote this correct. About 8 months ago, we were sitting in your office, and I believe you said Texas has more bridge structures than any other state. Is that Texas has more bridges? Is that somewhere close, or has about?
Sounds to me like you just quoted him.
Maybe not. I was wondering about this, but here's why I asked that is now that I drive, I've started to notice how many what you would consider crossings I go over that you would have thought that's a bridge, like that is a bridge, then it got me thinking. I wonder how much rehabilitation we're able to do on that overall structure. So where I was going with that comment is, no matter how many we have, what portion of our funding, both in the division and in the department, is being spent towards maintaining the roads we have versus these major projects we hear about, I-35 expansion on the news? Where's the balance, and how are we figuring that out as a state?
So I'll take the first part as far as how we are doling out maintenance dollars. So that $100 billion UTP
Right.
that Steve just asked about,
Right.
so it pretty much is split amongst 12 categories. Category number 1 is rehab maintenance. It is the biggest chunk. It is. You look at the rest of those 12, there are none that compare to that. So we realize Texas is growing. There's lots of need for mobility, lots of need to decrease congestion. But if we don't take care of what we have from a maintenance standpoint, it's just going to cause other issues down the road. And I'll also share a well-maintained road is a safe road from a matter of just having really good ride, good skid, good visibility and all that. So yes, that is the lifeblood. And I grew up in a maintenance district. It is one of those things that's super important to me. And I'm quite proud to say we've been scoring pavements in Texas for almost 30 years now.
Wow.
We've never had higher scores than we have right now. It is something I'm super proud of. And I'm going to turn the bridges over to Graham, but I'm going to tee him up a little bit and brag on him because he's not going to brag on himself. But there are groups that rank how states are doing.
Like the
based
bridge,
on
the bridge rating,
condition.
ASC, I think they do one. And
Yeah, but they rank it kind of backwards because they rank based on highest percentage of bad bridges. And Graham, if I get all this wrong, you can correct me after we get off this podcast. But so you don't want to be at the top of that list. And I'm pretty sure the last list I saw out of the rankings of the 50 states, we were tied for 51st.
Wow.
Yes. And I'm going to answer the question, too, because I think I know the answer, too. So not only do we have more bridges than any other state in the nation, we are almost double the number 2 state as far as the number of bridges in the U.S.
Wow.
It is astounding how many crossings you go over when you drive here. And I never noticed it until
I have.
this comment.
I
So
have.
anyway, go ahead. Now the floor is yours.
All right, I've got to disagree with Lance on one thing.
There we go.
I
Hit the buzzer.
I love to brag on myself. So yeah, we're just over 56,000 bridges in Texas. About 2/3 of those are state-owned, and about 1/3 of them are local government, county, city, things like that. It is double the second place state, and it's yes.
What is the second place state?
You know what? I was afraid you were going to ask me. It's either Pennsylvania or Ohio. I can't remember.
Okay.
Louisiana doesn't have it, buddy. You ain't on a list.
I know they don't. No.
Louisiana has an enormous number of bridges.
They
They're
do,
top
but
five.
not to that, not to like the number 1 and number 2.
No, but
Yeah.
they're in the top 5.
Top 5, yes, correct.
And we have more bridges than the 17 smallest states combined.
Wow.
Now, yeah, the report on the poor condition bridges, we're running neck and neck right now with a couple of the states out west, and so 3 of us were tied in 51st place.
Was
with
Nevada
the
one
last
of them?
Yes.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
Yep.
Nevada, Arizona, Texas. I'm really determined to get back in sole possession of first place. I love being alone or in last place,
Yes,
like
that's
Lance
right.
said. We want to be in last place on
That might be the only statistic you want to be in last place on right there. That's great.
Now, I think it's worth touching on something else you asked on the preservation side of things. Now, traditionally, Lance talked about the different categories, and we have a dedicated funding category for bridges.
Okay.
And traditionally, that's been a replacement program. Bridges get old, they turn into poor condition, and we replace them, and that's typically been what we've used Cat 6 for. About 70% of our money still goes towards replacement of those bridges. We're really trying to flip the script on that and get into more early action on these bridges and keep them from getting poor in the first place. So what I envision, what I hope is that instead of spending 70% on replacement and 30% on preservation, I want to flip that. I want it closer to 70% on maintaining, doing early maintenance and repair on bridges, and closer to 30% on the replacement.
Very cool. Very cool.
Is the innovation there to do that?
It is, and what we found is that we design and build new bridges really, really well. We're not as successful in rehab and repair right now, and so it's something that we are looking at nationally, and we're fortunate to have a good partnership with ACPA and a lot of these national groups. FHWA is great in this as well. So whereas I don't think we need to lean as much on innovation for our new bridges, I think we're doing really, really well on those. We do have some work to do on innovation and getting better in the repair and rehab realm.
Okay. What are the biggest challenges you face? We've had quite a few DOTs up here, and we get some of the more standard answers, but we'd like to ask you guys, what's the challenges you see in the next maybe 1 year and then maybe 5 years, you know?
Yeah, so Graham, I'll go first. So the our program grows every year. It really does, right? And it's one of those things where when you go from a $9 billion letting to a 10 to a 12.3 to a 13.6, right? So that's a lot, right? And it is one of those things, right? So the funding is there, right? And man, for years, we would have just loved to have been in the position we are. And now that we're here, delivering that, man, expectations are super high for everybody, and it is a chance to solve lots of problems. But project delivery is a challenge. It is one of those things we've got a lot of our focus on right now, and you just have to have lots of boxes checked to get there. And it is one of those things we're blessed, at least in Texas. The industry is just been great partners with us all the way through, and I'm convinced we're going to get there. But the ramp up is a lot, and just getting all those projects out the door is it's got to happen.
Right.
Yeah, you can imagine the sympathy from the other states when we talk about our biggest problem being figuring out how to deliver the all this money.
Right.
But it is a challenge because it ramped up very, very quickly, and we didn't suddenly have a bunch of extra engineers and a bunch of extra inspectors and a bunch of extra contractors. And so I think just continuing to figure out how not just to spend the money, but to do it responsibly and make sure we're not just throwing it out there. Everybody's being kind of driven right now, and I think it's a big challenge now, and it's going to continue. So we're working on it. I think we're doing well, but it's when things ramp up as quickly as they did financially, it does become difficult to deliver.
Right. A question I'll ask. So what, again, you see projects going on all throughout Texas, just nonstop. Is there a really big project that may still be in design conceptual stages that you can kind of mention as something that Texas can look forward to from a standpoint of the road highway infrastructure that's groundbreaking, so to speak?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Sure.
So we're getting ready to totally redo I-35 right through Austin.
Oh, wow.
And you'll see the first one of those projects let sometime later this summer.
Okay.
It's in about 6 different pieces, but by the time we finish all of those, they're all going to be going on kind of concurrently, but it's probably going to have an estimate that starts with a 6 and has a B on the end of it, and it's going to transform that stretch of 35 in Austin, but it's going to be big.
Yeah. Graham?
It's not as exciting, my answer, but what we really focus on is less the really, really big projects and just kind of the grand scheme. How do we deliver for all this work and all these really big design build projects and the more traditional design bid build? Like how do we do those? And the way we do it is to keep doing the same thing that's worked over and over again. And I talked during the panel about the reliance that we have on standards and, not getting cute unless we really need to. And sometimes you got to get cute, and sometimes it's fun to get cute.
You do.
For the most part, we don't get cute, and the contractors don't want us getting cute. So as opposed to looking at the one or two really, really big projects, just looking grand scheme and trying to figure out how to build a few hundred new bridges a year using the standards. Very, very reliant on standards. We love standards.
Is there any other? So you mentioned the project down in San Antonio, and every now and then I'll talk about the San Antonio region, San Antonio Austin region. How over time it seems like it's about to just merge into one another. Is there any other areas of Texas where over the next 10 years you foresee something like that? You foresee like a spread out, maybe Houston, Katy, or what I'm saying? Is there an area where you see a huge growth boom expected within the next 10 years in highways, roads, infrastructure development?
Yeah, I think you'll see that in you mentioned San Antonio, Austin area for sure.
Yep.
Houston area just keeps continuing to grow, and of course they can't really grow in a couple areas where the coast is there. The Metroplex is just going to keep expanding.
Right.
El Paso keeps growing too, but man, the Valley is just booming right now.
Yeah.
And then there are several times in the last few months. And yeah, they really do have lots of challenges there. So we do have the benefit of interacting with the state demographer a lot.
Right.
And he does a great job of reading lots of data, trying to help us focus on where that growth is.
Right.
And it's in lots of areas. It's nice to know where it's going to be, but it's lots. And it is one of those things we're funding is going to be quite useful in helping combat that growth and congestion. Not we're wanting to combat the growth, but knowing the growth's coming, that we certainly don't want to get ahead of that and try to prevent that congestion before it starts.
Right. Very cool.
Before we get out of here, you've all touched on it. You both touched on it throughout our dialogue. We've had previous speakers talk about it. The communication from the agency to the public, and the public would include industry associations like us and AGC, but also our traveling public. How is TxDOT structuring that outflow of information to help expedite projects moving down the road?
Yeah, so I'll take that. So Patrick, the way we look at it too, so the more information we can share, the earlier we get it out to folks, so nobody likes being surprised, right? Whether it is a lane closure, whether, hey, this project's going to let in March of 25, here's what we're going from 2 lanes to 4, we're going to put in a turn lane, we're going to put in an overpass. Man, just having that information out there earlier is good, where we get to solve problems when folks bring us back. And Patrick too, so not even with being an outflow, that inflow back in is super important. We got to have as many avenues as we can to where folks that do have concerns or there are issues, man, we learn a lot about our system and where we have trouble areas from just listening, and having that inflow back in is super important too. So yeah, the users of our system, nobody understands the issue on that road more than the folks that live on that road. Right. So you bet we got to have that avenue of inflow back in to listen to.
I think also important is making sure a lot of the local governments understand the funding sources. And I think a lot of them are in the mindset that we don't have the money to do that, without recognizing that with federal and state dollars, we can cover the vast majority of a lot of their projects, and not just focusing on the big mobility projects, things like that. We can, there's nothing saying we can't do maintenance, preservation, certainly replacement of older structures, things like that. So making sure they understand that we're there to partner, not just on a technical standpoint, but we'll bring the checkbook.
Awesome.
I'll toot your horn. I've lived in Austin my whole life, and I never thought I would see an expansion project like the 35 corridor. When I first saw the drawings, it looked like something out of Star Wars. It's the most incredible rejuvenation of a highway I've ever imagined.
Oh, absolutely. Even times I've been down there, I mean, I think the same thing. I'm wowed by, by the just expansion that I see.
And then we always forget that our governor never lets us forget, but he always says 1,100 people move here a day. And I was looking up statistics when we first got on about the DFW Metroplex. And last year, DFW Metroplex in size and people became bigger than New York City.
Yep.
And I never would have imagined that.
Yep.
I mean, I fly into New York and you just think, it's wall-to-wall concrete here.
Right.
Holy cow.
Right.
Now to think DFW is bigger in both size and people than New York. So
crazy.
And we manage it. We manage the traffic flows. We manage the people. We can complain a lot, but nobody's sitting in taxi cabs for 2 hours in Dallas, Texas. So
Exactly right.
Well, and you can look at the, you talked about the public outreach. I think a lot of these opportunities, like the one in Austin, where we're going to, we're working with the city and the University of Texas to do the cap and stitch. The first cap and stitch was just really a few miles down the road from where we are now in downtown Dallas. And the first time I saw that concept, I thought it was nuts. And I got to tell you, I was opposed to it. But now you go over and look at it, and it's beautiful. It's really beautiful what they created. And I think you really are creating these stitches across the freeway and these caps and these park spaces and things that we're able to work with the locals on. I think it really, the idea of sinking the highways and having a park over the top of it is really pretty remarkable. And Dallas led the way on that, and now everybody wants them.
There you go. Well, to wrap it up, I'll say Texas strong in infrastructure, Texas strong in highways, roadways, development, growth. I mean, Texas strong in everything pretty much. I bet we all say an amen to that pretty much.
Amen.
Guys, thank y'all so much. Appreciate y'all coming on. Lance, Graham, hope you enjoy the rest of Pipe School. Hope you encourage your fellow colleagues to join us in the coming years and whatnot. And then look forward to working with y'all in the future and seeing y'all again soon.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for
thank
having
y'all.
Take care.
Steve, we've got one more. We've got Montana coming up next.
Yes, we do.
We'll take a short break at home. Give us about 15 minutes, and we will be back on air.
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all.